We all know that Naughty Dog, one of PlayStation's oldest studios, most iconic first-party studio that's been around since the very beginning of PlayStation. They've developed amazing franchises over the years, like Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Daxter, the Uncharted series, The Last of Us, and now they're on to their next big, ambitious project called Intergalactic. We had got a cinematic trailer a while back, and to be honest, it's going to be a while before we even see some gameplay, because this is pretty routine for Naughty Dog. You know, they like to show a cinematic trailer, and then they make us wait 3-4 years until release. Good example is The Last of Us Part 2, which came out back in 2020. Now it's been 5 years, and throughout the years, they promised us a Last of Us multiplayer. But after the disaster that was Concord, if PlayStation had any confidence in developing future live services, it's completely gone. They've shut down studios. They've laid off many developers in the process. They are not really looking to dabble with live services as much as they want back a couple years ago. And that even includes Naughty Dog, who has stated that we could have came out with The Last of Us multiplayer, but it meant that it would force our entire team to focus on this live service for years to come. And honestly, my personal take on this is fine. Scale it down. Just release it as a multiplayer. It doesn't have to be this long-term live service, but that's not how the industry is anymore. If you are going to make a multiplayer, you got to treat it as a live service. And when Bungie took a bit of an inspection at Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer, they told them it's not live service enough, and you have to commit all the way, and they didn't want that. And that's why now we're looking at their next big release, which is Intergalactic. But there is a fan base out there who are asking Neil Druckmann, the co-president and game director of The Last of Us games, and asking him, hey, how about The Last of Us Part 3? Is that going to happen anytime soon? Especially now with the live-action adaptation doing very well and the second season coming out very soon. There's a lot of attention and popularity and behind that live-action adaptation. Wouldn't that entice Neil Druckmann and Sony to come out with a sequel for The Last of Us? Well, he actually has in a recent interview, Neil Druckmann did state, don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. He says, this could be it. And this honestly is something that I'm not going to take entirely at face value, simply because Neil has, in the past, proven that he will straight up twist the truth just to kind of cast away any doubts or any suspicions. He did that with a lot of the Last of Us 2 marketing, even before its release. He would say that he's thinking very carefully about how he's going to treat the story, and that this is the only way that the direction of this game is going to have to go towards. And they even did it with a lot of the cinematic trailers at the time, when they showcase a trailer with one of the main characters being there to kind of reinforce that he's not gonna get killed in the game, only for them to be one of the first characters to get killed. I mean, why am I even talking about spoilers here? But he has in the past shown that he will not be entirely truthful about what he publicly says. So when I hear him say, oh, forget that there's not going to be a Last of Us Part 3, I highly doubt it. I mean, this is his magnus opus. This is his life's work. It's his proudest piece of work that he's put out there to the world. I wouldn't be surprised if it entices him to go back and create one more sequel. And I do believe, if anybody has actually watched the Grounded 2 documentary, Druckmann did say, he mentioned in that documentary that he has a concept for a third installment that could connect all three games in a meaningful way, although he hasn't really developed a concrete story for it yet. And so, we're all sitting now in a state of limbo and uncertainty about a man and his life's work, and people asking, there going to be one more game to fill the void for a lot of people? Because I know Last of Us Part 2 definitely doesn't end in the way we all expected. And I think that's intentional from Neil as well and his team of writers. And so I think sooner or later, it will be long overdue that Last of Us Part 3 will be a thing. I think he just wants to downplay it at the moment, try not to make it a big thing, because the spotlight is the next project that they're working on is Intergalactic. And so if he mentions any inkling of a Last of Us Part 3, I think that will overshadow anything that they want to showcase for their upcoming game, Intergalactic. And so he has to downplay it from now so that it doesn't distract the fan base or players expecting things. And it's a wise choice. You gotta manage people's expectations, because it can certainly get out of hand the same way it did before the release of Last of Us Part 2. I mean, that game took forever to come out, almost 7 years in the making, so much controversy, and then we had the leaks and all these things. And you can imagine when a sequel is expected and it's been waited on for that long, it creates such a level of expectation, a certain level of hype that is insurmountable, and in some ways will never be satisfied, will never be quenched. And that's why a lot of people jumped into Last of Us Part 2, like myself, and came out of it unsatisfied. But again, it is a story, and it is a game that's left an entire community very divisive. And I found myself on the side that I never could understand or agree or like the way that they ended The Last of Us Part 2. But maybe a sequel could fix those things. Who knows? So Neil, I'm watching you. And even though you're trying to downplay it, trying to say that there is no sequel, sooner or later, I think he's trying to keep it as a surprise. So I'm definitely leaving a cloud of doubt behind his statements and whatever he wants to say in public, because I've known this guy for a long time. He's been in the industry since, I've known him since the industry since he was back when he was just involved in Uncharted 2. So I know this guy. I know what he's up to. But again, I think their focus now is Intergalactic, and somewhere in between, we might hear something else and some surprise showcase of some kind. But that's years to come, to be honest. So all we can do is just wait and see. But do share your thoughts and opinion. Do let me know what you think. Will there be a Last of Us Part 3? Yes, no, maybe, whatever it is. Let me know and share your thoughts on the Evening Buzz. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more news from the world of entertainment right here on the Evening